Hey dolls, welcome back and thanks so much for spending part of your day with me. If you're new here, my name is Amber Michon and I do weekly DIYs, hauls, and other fun things. If you're not new... So in today's video, I am sharing with you another round of really easy farmhouse DIYs. I love how they all turned out. The other exciting thing about this video is that it is in partnership with BURLAPfabric.com. They recently sent me a bunch of new items and I am using all of the burlap that they sent me in my DIYs. I love the ease and the simplicity of using their materials. Everything just came out really great. I really love it. So if you enjoyed, make sure to give me a big thumbs up. If you're new, I would love if you would consider subscribing and hitting the bell right next to it so you're notified every time that I upload. All right, dolls, let's jump right in. Okay, so here is a favorite of mine, this heart garland. So what I'm doing is taking this large sheet of burlap fabric and look at how big this is. It's so many layers. It's just really great to have to do so much with. So I'm pretty much going to use this for most, if not all, of the DIYs. So all I did was just cut a piece down and then I'm just going to trace my wood heart. So I got this wood heart from Dollar Tree and I'm just using that as a guide to trace it, and I'm using my black Sharpie marker. Once I have the desired amount on a sheet, then I just cut that down using some scissors. Super easy. I have seen people do something like this and they use a rotary cutter, but I don't have one of those. So the next thing I did, once I had all of my pairs, so you're going to have 2 of those heart burlap sheets per heart, basically. And so I took some jute cord and some 20 wooden beads that I picked up from Amazon, and I just fished them through my jute cord. The next thing I did is laid out my hearts. So I'm doing 2 beads in between each heart, and on the end of my garland will be 3 beads. So I just put a line of hot glue on the middle of my heart and then put the jute cord down and then hot glued part of the heart right on top of it. So like I said, 2 pieces for each one heart, and then glue down the jute cord to the bottom heart and then hot glue the other heart on top. So I didn't hot glue like directly on the edges of the seams because I wanted the seams to kind of I wanted the heart, when I fill it up, to look like a puffy heart. You'll see in a second what I'm talking about. Once I have all of my hearts glued down and together, I'm going to use this polyfill that I picked up from Walmart. And then I'm just going to stuff each heart where I left the opening at, and then I'm just gonna hot glue the opening closed shut. And as you can see, it's maybe like 1/2 inch to where, or 1/4 inch, I don't know, I didn't measure it, but it's not that that wide for where I hot glue it from the edge. And then if you get any flyaways or any kind of weird like shaping, then I just kind of cut that down with my scissors. So I really like this burlap fabric. It's really nice to work with, really easy. It doesn't it doesn't shed a lot of like strings, but it sheds a lot, if you get what I'm saying. So it sheds like a lot of little fibers, but not like a lot of strings. So then after I was done with that, I'm making tassels on both ends of my garland. I'm not the best at making tassels, especially when they are attached to a garland. I'm really good at making like standalone tassels. And I've been watching a bunch of videos on how to get them to connect to like a garland, but I need like a crochet needle to make it look seamless. So I did the best that I could with this. That's why it's kind of fast forwarded, because I do not want to put you guys through the agony of watching me try to make this tassel. But I left it in here so you know, when I craft, I get frustrated and I don't know what I'm doing sometimes. So just wanted to put the real part of crafting in here as well. But once I was done with that, I just cut down my tails and I really like how it's coming along, but I wanted to add something else, a little bit more color contrast. So I'm using this lace ribbon that I picked up from Dollar Tree and just trying to figure out if I wanted to do any kind of fun directions on them, but I just in the end decided to just lay them across the top using some hot glue and cutting it down to size. And I absolutely love this. So cute. I just think it is great everyday, all year round decor, even though it's hearts, but the neutral color gives me all of the feels.
I had a feeling you'd come back and save me from all those lonely nights and heartbreaks, and I feel misplaced without you. Why don't we go back to, never wanted to end it like we did.
For our next DIY, I have this home sweet home sign. So from Dollar Tree, I'm using a Christmas sign that I have left over, and this home sweet home phrase I picked up from Target's Dollar Spot around the fall. Of course, I'm going to cover up the back of my sign with some brown craft paper, and then I'm going to give my sign and my phrase about 2 coats of white chalk paint. So I gave my phrase 2 coats and I gave my sign 1 coat because I still wanted some of the brown to show through. I'm wanting it to look more of like a wood color or a wood like look of it. Then I took my ink chalk paint and I'm distressing the edges of my sign, and then I just went all in and started distressing the rest of it because the middle, it is going to be covered with the burlap fabric. So once that was done, I took that same sheet of burlap fabric and I just cut it down to size of what I want it to be the insert of my sign. And I basically just cut down all 4 sides. I kept putting my sign on there to make sure I lined it up to how short I wanted the burlap to be. And it came out really nicely. I really like the size of it. And I've wanted to do something like this before on another sign. It just did not work out. But I think that this looks so good. So once I have my burlap cut down, I'm taking these thumbtacks, these like shiny gold thumbtacks. I'm going to cut off the ends to where you stick it into like a board or something. And then I am going to paint these using my ink chalk paint. And I think I did probably 2 coats of this because it is shiny gold. So it needed a heavier dose of that paint. After that, I smoothed out my fabric and I'm going to just hot glue it down. So I'm just doing nice beads of hot glue, not even beads, but lines of hot glue on all 4 sides of my sign, and then smoothing out the burlap fabric. Once that was done, I am arranging my phrase home sweet home on here. I had to give these letters probably 3 coats of paint because it was this like wood color, but it soaked up the paint so much, and I really wanted a flat white look of this phrase because I wanted it to pop from the sign, and I think it did just that. So once it was all in place, I just hot glued them down, and then it helps keep the burlap in place too. And then once that was done, I took some of the strings off to give this a little bit more character, give it a little bit more dimension on the sign. And these little strings on the fabric come out really nicely. And I love the frayed look of it. And now I'm going to hot glue those thumbtacks down on all 4 corners of my burlap. I think this just gives it a nice added touch and makes it look like it's supposed to be there. And then to hang this, I'm just going to use that same jute cord that I used for the garland. I took a small paintbrush to poke the hole through the craft paper that I had in the back, and then just fished through my jute cord and then tied it off to the desired length that I wanted and just cut it down a little bit. I wanted a little bit more in regards to my phrase, so I kept the home sweet home words white, but the little like leave thing is I dry brushed that a little with that ink, but it gave it like a gray color because my paintbrush was in the water. So I really love how this turned out. I think it's so farmhouse, and I just love how it looks. It definitely gives me the feels too.
still see your silhouette. Why don't we go back to, why don't we go back?
All right, moving on to some super easy votives. So basically, I'm using some of these candle holders from Dollar Tree. I got them around Christmas time, hence the greenery, and some leftover burlap scraps. These are actually the scraps that I cut down from the sign on the last DIY. So all I'm doing is just going to remove the jute cord and the ribbon along with the greenery on here. Super easy. Everything is just hot glued down. Once that was done, I wrapped up my glass vase or my glass votive jar. I don't know. Anyways, I wrapped it around with the burlap. I cut it down to size and then just hot glued it on the back in place. And then I'm taking some of this twine that Burlap Fabric sent me as well, and I'm gonna wrap that up or wrap it around in the middle of it. And then this just needed a little bit more. I didn't want to put greenery on it. I wanted it to keep this nice neutral brown tones. So in my last DIY video on Wednesday, I painted them because they were not this color, but I painted them this color with some white and then dry brushed it with some antique wax paint. And I'm using that to wrap that up. All I did was fish through some of this jute through the hole at the top and wrapped it around and hot glued it down. Super easy. I love the simplicity but the classiness of these glasses.
To your bedroom.
All right, moving on to this wreath with this heart. This is so precious. I love this. So you're going to take a small wreath form from Dollar Tree, and Burlap Fabric sent me this huge roll of burlap. Like, this is huge. Like, I'm never going to have to buy like Dollar Tree burlap rolls for a long time. I won't say never, just for a long time. Anyways, if you've seen any of my videos or even just seen people wrapping burlap in a wreath, super simple. You just keep wrapping it. I only use hot glue at the beginning and the end when I wrap my wreath. I will say one of the things about this burlap spool is that, as you can see, a lot of the strings come off and they're just really frayed. Now, I like the look of it, but the mess of it is not fun. I was wearing black leggings as I was doing this DIY, and I'm telling you, I went through like 3 sheets of like my lint roller because it's actually really messy. The look of it is nice once you do what you need to do, but doing it's just really, really messy. So keep that in mind. So the next thing I did is took this ribbon that I used on the first DIY on the heart garland, and I'm wrapping that up and just hot gluing that down at the beginning and the end, just like I do my burlap. I love the way that this looks. I think it's a really nice base of a wreath. But of course, I need to use my boxwood greenery, so I have a bunch, and I just took the stems, and I'm just cutting off like the bottom, like little nubby pieces, and then I just start to hot glue them down until I'm satisfied with what it looks like. But in the end, I am not satisfied with just the greenery on here, so I know that it needs more. Right here in the middle, it just needs something. So I remembered I had these chalkboard hearts from Dollar Tree. I think 6 come in a pack or 4 or something like that. And anyway, so I'm just gonna paint the back with my white chalk paint. Once that's dry, I'm just gonna hot glue that down right to the center, but like I'm gonna do it at an angle. Do it at an angle so that way my wreath sits to the side, and then I use that same ribbon, make a bow, hot glue it to the top of the heart where the hole is, and you have a really fancy, classy, super high-end farmhouse looking wreath. That was a lot, but that's what it is. I absolutely love this wreath.
And I'm just pointless without you. Why don't we go back to, never wanted to end things like we did. I'm sorry for all those promises.
All right, dolls, that's all I have for you today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give me a big thumbs up. Comment down below letting me know which one is your favorite. If you're new, I would love if you would consider subscribing and hitting the bell right next to it so you're notified every time that I upload. All right, dolls, be blessed, stay safe, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.
Why don't we go back to, why don't we go back to your bedroom?